Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here, now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town, we won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours, we're all to drink. It's our time, let's rock this ring.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with me, your beautiful host, once again, Zack, all by myself. No Carlo. Unfortunately, with some sad news, Derek is no longer on the podcast. If you haven't taken the guess already, Matt also is no longer on the podcast and hasn't been for quite some time, but that's okay. That's not going to change anything for you guys at home. For us, it means we have to make a couple changes. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. We have some things to cover, as you can tell by the title of this episode. It's not looking good for head coach Derek Lalonde, Alex Tanguay, and Bob Boughner. More so for the PK side and the head coach side. Power play obviously is doing really well, but also we're going to recap the 3 games that we have not talked about since last weekend, which was against the Pittsburgh Penguins, as you can see with the scoreboard up here, against the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. And just quickly jumping into it, as you can clearly see, the Red Wings did beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 in overtime. Burgers finally scores a goal. That's been taking some time, right? So glad to see that he's finally getting on his feet and getting on the score sheet. Patrick Kane also scores on the power play. The Penguins were able to tie it up very quickly, but Simon Edvinsson comes in clutch with the OT goal, thanks to a nice pass from Alex DeBrincat, which is super sick to see. The goods of this game, you got the 2 points, right? That's super important, especially against a team that's in the Metro in your conference, right? Talbot continues showcasing how great of a goaltender that he is, right? So with him, he got the 32 saves, a 941 save percentage, and that's a 250th win for Cam Talbot. So shout out to him. He continues doing work even at his old age. So congratulations to him on that. Unfortunately, things did not go the way that the Red Wings probably planned, or the way that the fans even planned. You're going up against a bottom Anaheim Ducks team. Statistically, they were worse at shooting and scoring goals than the Detroit Red Wings going into the game. The score sheet 6-4. I mean, the Red Wings, they had at one point a 3-1 lead tied up, in the beginning of the third period, and they just completely collapsed as soon as Simon Edvinsson was no longer in the game. Lyon did return in this game. This was the game for Alex Lyon to return to. Carlo and I actually kind of got into it with our group chat that we have with Hockeytown West boys, saying he should have started against the Kings because that was already a scheduled loss. Yes and no. We've seen the Red Wings play really good against some really good teams, like the New Jersey Devils. We saw them go out there, outpace them, and outplay them. We've seen it a couple of times this season. But unfortunately, the Red Wings Lion, he even let in 2 softies. They let in 2 power play goals that the Anaheim Ducks had opportunities on, and they just weren't able to keep the puck out of their net. And then, of course, they got the empty netter goal. But the first goal, they came in within the first 2 minutes of the game, right? It was a goal that really wasn't something anyone could have done differently. It was a high tip, nice goal. Nothing Lyon could have done about that, right? But there were some goods in this game. I mean, Kasper, he looked better and better as the games went on. He actually ended up scoring in this game, getting his first NHL goal. So congratulations to him. Berggren ended up getting a goal as well. So 2 goals in 2 games. He's finally starting to pick it up. That third line overall with Tarasenko, Kasper, and Berggren are starting to click finally. And it's great to see that these kids are starting to take the duty to start producing. Not saying that we were worried that they weren't, but we needed them to showcase that they can do this on a night and night basis moving forward, right? And so far, it's looking pretty good for that third line. Overall, though, this team just completely collapsed as soon as it got towards the second end. You missed Simon Edvinsson. He kind of went out with an injury that did come out as a lower body injury. He did miss the next game going up against the LA Kings, and it showcased the Red Wings defense is nothing without players like Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson. Talbot did come in net in this game. Rasmussen was also out with a upper body injury. It first came out that he could have been a healthy scratch. Glad to hear that it actually wasn't, or however you want to look at it. But he should be playing tonight against the San Jose Sharks. I am recording the night of that game. That game is happening in San Jose at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With this LA Kings game in the second period was completely boring. Nothing really happened, and Kings score pretty quickly and make it 3-0. Larkin was able to destroy the shutout for the Kings, getting a goal. That was his 10th goal of the season. So glad to see he continues putting the pucks in the net, especially on the power play. That is the one plus of the Detroit Red Wings season so far this year, is the fact that they can actually find the back of the net on the power play. I wish they could convert that on the 5-on-5 side. That's what it comes down to, folks. And, kind of going into that, let's talk about the Detroit Red Wings head coaching situation. Look, during Derek Lalonde's tenure, some may have had expectations for him, some may not have. Obviously, when he came onto the team technically was still rebuilding. You had some not great contracts. You had some plug-in players. Oscar Sundqvist is even one player that I can mention right out the gate, right? But Derek Lalonde hit the ground running in 22-23, 80 points for a 35-37-10 record. And 23-24 last year, 91 points, 41 wins, 32 losses, and 9 overtime games that they went into. And then so far this year in 24-25, 15 points, 7-9-1 record, and 17 games played. And just so you guys know, I did do the math on this, that is about a 72 point pace to finish this season. That's two points less than what Jeff Blashill got with this team in his final season in the 21-22 season. And he had 74 points. Yeah, let that sink in for a little bit. Like I mentioned, the power play has always been somewhat good. PK has its ups and downs, but mainly downs. So does that reside total to head coach Lalonde? Partially, yes, it does. The head coach, primarily is the one who executes all this stuff, right? For the players to go out there and continuously do the same things that they're doing. And speaking of so far, in this month of November, I had them scheduled for 9 winnable games. So far, the Detroit Red Wings are 3-4 in the month of November. And then for the month of October, they went 4-5-1. To put it quite frank, there's no spark. There's no motivation. And honestly, it seems like no one gives a shit. And by that, I don't mean, we're just going to go out there and collect our paychecks. No, that's not what I'm saying here. What I am saying is it's almost like the players are feeling the exact same way as the fans do. Carlo and I have mentioned it a few times on our podcast where we'll have the game on, but we'll just have it playing in the background, right? While we're doing something else, whether if it's on our phone, doing chores, cooking, whatever. So we're watching, but without watching, because this team isn't giving us anything to be excited about, to sit there. And it takes me back to the time of late last season where everyone was on the edge of their seats, on the couch, or at the game, wherever they're at the bar, and they were getting excited and the team was putting in the effort. And that type of effort, we are not seeing that from this team whatsoever. And give a little slack to Lalonde, right? You look at the defense, you look at some of the contracts that he's been given. Is that on him? No, you can only play with what you're dealt with. Some of it does fall on Steve Yzerman. However, he's not the one that I would particularly call should be on the hot seat. Derek Lalonde, 100%. There was a quote from him today when asked, what's the message to the players for Monday? And Lalonde's response was, hang in there, guys. Just hang in there. Really? Just hang in there? That's all you got for your boys going up against the San Jose Sharks team that's dead last in the NHL? Like, then you... Then you got Mo Sider after Monday morning skate saying tonight's the biggest game of the road trip against the San Jose Sharks, the dead last team in the NHL. Just so they can walk away 500 on this road trip, right? Going 2-2 after a loss to a bad Ducks team that's worse at scoring than we are. Like, this is your biggest game of your road trip? To get the 500, yes, I understand that part. Because if you could do that, that's better than going 1 out of the 4 games, right? Winning wise. And one of them you had to go into overtime for. But just to kind of bring it up, going back to the defense, Simon Edmondson once again did not play against the LA Kings. So I did have actually all the stats pulled up for that. And on the day of 11/16, so 2 days ago, currently at this recording, I hope this gets out before the San Jose Sharks game, but these are a little skewed now because of the game against the LA Kings. But Edmondson so far this season, on the day of 11/16, he was second in ice time with 329 minutes. 20% shift start in the Z zone, first on the team. 14 hits, which puts him at 8th on the team. Only 2 penalties taken so far this year. 37 blocked shots, tied for second on the team. And 27 shots on net, tied for 7th on the team. And it's his first season. He had played previously, 14? Maybe at max 20 games. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, unfortunately, right now, but you guys can let me know down in the comments. It is said that he will be returning for tonight's game, as well as Michael Rasmussen. Fantastic. That should make us feel a lot better today and moving forward. Imagine him being out longer term, a month, 2 months. We potentially could be talking about a situation where, all right, where are we picking in the draft? Is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 10? 6th for like the 5th time? So imagine how bad this team would be. And it's showcased against that LA Kings team, right? How badly and how amused or unwilling to put in an effort out on the ice. It just looked like it gave me PTSD of Red Wings of 2020, 21, 21, 22, where they absolutely could not get anything going, where they would play in their own end for a little bit. They'd eventually be able to break out. Then they would do a little dump and chase. I did see that Max Boltman earlier today did retweet out and have a conversation with someone about how the Red Wings are one of the 3, maybe 5 teams in the league that are actually doing less dump and chase chip-ins than they were last season. I see that. They're actually doing a really good job at that. They're breaking out of their own zone, so I'll give them that. They're doing a really good job. However, this team offensively, 5-on-5, and defensively on the PK just are not getting the job done. Imagine if the Red Wings weren't good on their power play. This team would be a bottom 5 team. It really would. And so with that being said too, the Red Wings and everyone from coach to ownership has always done well at hiding their emotions, their thoughts, and ideas behind closed doors, right? We know that through and through. We always call out the BS person on Twitter that says, oh, be on the lookout for Red Wings to trade Jonathan Berggren. Oh, the Red Wings could be going after so-and-so. Never happens. Yzerman doesn't spill the tea. No one in that organization spills the tea, right? And so, but can we keep sitting here and telling ourselves that there's big pep talks getting the boys motivated from a night-to-night basis? And where is it coming from? Especially when you got Lalonde going there and saying, hang in there, guys. We could speculate all we want. I would love to be the fly on the wall in the room when they have these types of conversations, if they do. I'm starting to believe that they don't. And if it's from Lalonde, it's clearly not working. They're not picking up what he is feeding to them and buying into it anymore. I don't. I really have no answers. I kind of wish Carlo was here to help me out a little bit with this because he does have a lot of great things to say about his perspective of the Newsy Lalone system. Snoozy, I should say. Shout out to you, Carlo. But if you lose to the Sharks tonight with Edvinsson and Rasmussen back in the lineup, you have to start asking tough questions and start pointing fingers. You have to this guy. Why are things not going the way that you may have expected them to go? Now, of course, you can go and look at pro scouting too. Benefit of the doubt once again. Look at pro scouting. Look at the players that they have went to see Yzerman and maybe even Lalonde and said, yeah, this guy would definitely make a really great fit, right? Ben Sherratt, Kopp, Hall, Petrie. You can even throw Comfort in there. Eric Gustafsson. That's at least 6 right there that are currently on this Detroit Red Wings roster, right? And that's not saying like, oh, we got young players knocking on the door that are ready to make this team right now. And everyone always makes that argument saying, well, I'd rather watch these young kids make the mistakes versus these old pro guys who aren't doing anything and they're just getting paid a lot. I get that point. I'm actually one of those people. I would prefer to see the younger guys get the playing time over the older guys, right? But is that really going to fix anything, especially quick? No, because that's what a lot of people seem to want right now. They want the Red Wings to be good now. Can I blame them? No, because like Travis says from the Hockey Town West Boys, it's devastating to us now because they gave us the high hopes last year. They were this close to making the playoffs just because of a tie breaker rule that is the stupidest thing ever created for the NHL. I'm so sorry. I'm not. I shouldn't apologize. But pro scouting has done a terrible job at giving Lalonde a fair shot at having somewhat of a good team. You look at the forward end, yet you have Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko. Those players alone, they're not doing bad. Alex DeBrincat, 17 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Raymond, 2 goals, 14 assists, 16 points. Larkin, 10 goals, 3 assists. Kane, 3 goals, 7 assists. Seider, 1 goal, 9 assists. Tarasenko needs to step it up a little bit, but there's a lot of players on this team that need to step it up. Someone like Michael Rasmussen, too, 4 points in 16 games. That's a player that we probably thought that could have potentially gotten us 40 points. And he's been sitting down on the 4th line lately. We've seen Joe Veleno getting stretched out for Tyler Mott. It's absolutely incredible, but let's go and talk about some of the coaching options. You got Todd McClellan, Gerard Gallant, Jay Woodcroft, Joel Quenneville, Dan Watson, and Sergei Fedorov. I am labeling those 6 head coaches as potential options for the Detroit Red Wings. Now, to go into depth about some of these head coaches that you could potentially go after, Tom McClellan, former Red Wings assistant coach from 2005 to 2008, Gerard Gallant, Red Wings former left winger from 85 to 93. Then you got Jay Woodcroft, Red Wings video coach from 05 to 08. And then Joel Quenneville, coach Kane, Cat, Mott, and Gustafsson with the Chicago Blackhawks, and then was the head coach over at the Florida Panthers. Obviously, Joel Quenneville is the coach that a lot of people have their eyes on for both good and bad reasons. Obviously, everyone is aware. If you're not, go ahead and take your due diligent time to go look into that. But everyone knows why Joel Quenneville is a good, but also not the correct choice because of all the things that happened at the Chicago Blackhawks way back when, right? But if you're going to make a change, should be relatively quick because I can't imagine that all 4 of these guys or even the 6 guys that I named off, right? Like Dan Watson, he's the Grand Rapids Griffins head coach. Then you got Sergei Fedorov, he's the coach over in the KHL. Yeah, if you're going to pick one of these guys, it would have to be relatively quick. Maybe not someone like Dan Watson, obviously, because you already have him in your system, or even Sergei Fedorov because he is coaching. But all these other guys, Tom McClellan, Gerard Gallant, Jay Woodcroft, Joel Quenneville, These guys are sitting on their couch like a sack of potatoes waiting for a call. Now, there's a couple things that have to go into it, right? Is there a fit? And do they actually want to come here? Based on the Red Wings and how their roster is constructed and the way that their season is projecting to look like, I don't really see a reason why any of these coaches would want to come to Detroit, to be honest with you guys. Maybe 3 out of the 4, maybe all 4 would take the opportunity to be the next head coach for the Detroit Red Wings. But history has shown us, not only for the Detroit Red Wings, but also for Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman has never fired a head coach midway through a season, right? While the season was ongoing. Even when Jeff Blashill was still a coach and we would go through our West Coast trips and we would always get upset because we'd always do bad. Everyone would call him out saying, you got to fire this guy. Steve Yzerman never did it. And so my question is, what makes us think that that is going to change now? Do we firmly believe that any of these 6 coaches, or even the first 4 that I named off, could change the direction that the Red Wings are heading for 72 points this season? You're talking picking top 10 in the NHL draft this upcoming year. I don't want my prediction to come right. It would slightly be right, but I said it would be right based on injuries. No, they're just bad. They're just bad. It's absolutely insane. Now, for Tom McClellan, his record is 598, 412, 134, 581 win percentage. For Gallant, 369 wins, 262 losses, 70 overtimes, 576 win percentage. Woodcroft, 79, 41, 13, 643 win percentage. And then Joel Quenneville, 452, 249, 96 for the second winningest head coach in NHL history, currently to date. And he still wants the head coach. Kind of going down the list of these players, Tom McClellan. I see a fit there. Not the greatest coach off of this list, I would say, but I think he would fit very well. I think he can interact with the players very well. He's been here before. Michigan's a really great area. Probably loves Detroit with a passion and the Red Wings with a passion. I'd open them with open arms. Is he that much more of an improvement than Derek Lalonde? I'd probably say no. Then you look at Derek Lalonde. This guy right here would probably be top 2 out of the 6 for me. And I'll talk about Dan Watson and Sergei Fedorov down the list here. But yeah, Gerard Gallant would probably be top 2 of the list for sure. Just his coaching style, the teams that he's coached before, he knows how to get under his player's skin for the better. Not like a Mike Babcock kind of way, right? But I need you to do this kind of way, not only for yourself, but for this team and for me, right? I do believe that he is someone who can get players to do exactly what he needs them to do and do it the correct way, in a tough love kind of way. Then you look at Jay Woodcroft. There is a fit there. He's probably the least likely on my list to be the next Red Wings head coach. I don't think the Red Wings approach should be, let's try another guy who's never coached or has only slightly coached for a 10-year period of time, right? I think the Red Wings need someone a little experienced. I think the Red Wings need someone who knows what it takes to get to that next level and has done it before. And then that takes you to Joel Quenneville, where he's won a couple Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. Could have taken the Florida Panthers to a Stanley Cup and won one if he wanted to, had he had stayed there. And so Joel Quenneville would be on the top of my list. However, it comes down to, well, how nervous or worried, I guess, whatever word you want to use, are you about the feedback that you're going to get for hiring the guy, knowing what happened at the Chicago Blackhawks organization way back when? The situation, horrible. never forgettable, always bring it up when it needs to be brought up. But this is the guy. This would be the guy. Now it comes back to the same question. Does he actually want to come here? I don't know. Based on the way that the team is structured, it would have to be a really hard sell to get someone like Joel Quenneville to come to a Detroit Red Wings organization. Maybe the area too. I'm not sure if he's a family guy or what's going on in his actual personal life. But for his job, right? Is he going to love coming into his job where he has to teach kids the ropes? And that'll take us into our next segment after I go through the next guys is not only are you asking, are these guys going to be good fits for the now, but for the long term? Because I'm getting over the carousel, right? Because if we're going to go in a carousel where we have coaches for every 3 years, I don't want to do that. I want to find the guy that can be here for 5 years plus. And so looking at someone like Dan Watson, I think Dan Watson would also be at the top of the list. I'd put him at the third spot out of these six guys only because one, he's super familiar. Two, he goes up the system, coach for the Toledo Walleye. Now he's with the Grand Rapids Griffins. Next step clearly would be the Detroit Red Wings. And he's worked with a lot of our young guys right now and has in the past, especially with someone like Sebastian Cossa. This would be the guy to help get the young guys going if the Red Wings were to go into the route of, let's say, another rebuild, or they just have so many of these young guys that we need to get someone who's already familiar with them and that can actually get them going because they know what makes them tick. Right. Then you look at someone like Sergei Fedorov, former Red Wings player. That's basically about it. What are the reasons for a Sergei Fedorov to come back to Detroit? Next to nothing. The Red Wings haven't retired his jersey. I'm sure there's still really bad blood there. And no one ever wants to talk about it. But damn, it would be a lot of fun to have a Sergei Fedorov behind a Red Wings bench and coaching for us. I would just love to see him pull out the goalie during an overtime just to be able to secure the dub. Could you imagine that happening for the Red Wings? That would be such a Red Wings win. That would be absolutely insane. But yeah, talking about that, you look at some of these young guys and whatever coach that you decide to pick, if you do move on from someone like a Derek Lalonde, you have to start thinking about the young guys. Players like Emmett Finney, who's got 31 points in 19 games in the WHL for the Kamloops Blazers. Dmitry Buchelnikov, 26 points in 27 games in the KHL currently. Jesse Keskinen, 16 points in 18 games in the Liga. ASP, 16 points as a defenseman in 19 games. Amadeus Lombardi, 11 points, 15 games for the Grand Rapids Griffins. Nate Danielson. The list goes on and on from there. And so which of these coaches, if you were to make that change, would benefit these younger guys that will be moving up to the Detroit Red Wings over time? Granted, not all of these players will be on the team. Some might even get traded, but those are questions that you have to ask. But if I were to pick my top two, it's 100% Joel Quenneville, then Gerard Gallant. Because if you're going to do this, you want them to help out now and for the future. Now it all comes down to, do they want to come here? Believe it or not, I do think that money has a role into play with it, right? And so it all comes down to that. And then also, what can Steve Yzerman provide to them on the next steps moving forward? And that's actually something that I wanted to jump into, is that according to Elliot Freeman, the cap for next year should be going up to $92.4 million, but revenue might make it $95 to $97 million. But the NHL and the NHLPA would need to come to an agreement, and this would be huge for the Red Wings and many other teams, especially since you just signed players like Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. If that goes up to $97 or even $95 million next year from the 88 that we are currently at, those are absolute steals by Steve Yzerman. And there are a couple contracts that are coming off the books. There are some that are getting close to coming off the books. You definitely have to be careful with what you do. I believe the Red Wings will be getting some buyout opportunities, and also be able to maybe retain some salaries too. But even going into, let's say the Red Wings are out of it by January time, right? It's you only have like 15 wins. You're down in the slumps. You look at the trade deadline. The Red Wings don't really have that many trade deadline options either to trade off. Maybe they got maybe someone would like a Joe Veleno as a 4C option that's willing to give up like a third or a fourth round pick. Alex Lyon's probably your best trade trip outside of Ole Mata, who just got traded by Utah. And the way that the Red Wings had to get to where they are right now to be like maybe $2 million above of it being zero, having no cap. It was just a weird offseason in general for the Red Wings. And hopefully Steve Yzerman and the pro scouts can do it right this next offseason. That is something that I would look into, is obviously your pro scouts. I named off some of the players that we've gotten in free agency, like Compher, Kopp, Ben Sherratt, Justin Hall, and even someone like Ole Mata. Ole Mata by far was probably the best one because he was the most consistent at being a bottom pairing defenseman, which is so weird to say. And then you look at some of the goalies, right? Like you look at Cam Talbot, then you look at Alex Lyon, better than some of our previous goaltenders, right? And so should the Red Wings fire Derek Lalonde? If they lose against San Jose, you have to start worrying and you have to start pointing the fingers at that point. If the Red Wings win somehow, but it's not pretty, I'm not calling for his head right away. A win's a win and you take it. However, I want to see pure, utter domination. I want to see pucks in San Jose's net. I don't want to see the puck in the Red Wings net. I want the Red Wings to absolutely obliterate the San Jose Sharks. I want you to walk up to Will Smith and smack him in the face for Chris Rock. I want Macklin Celebrini to go -4 tonight. -4. No goals, no assists. I want him to go home crying. The Red Wings need to insert themselves as a dominating team, even when they aren't one, because they're not. The Red Wings' identity, boring. That's their identity. Boring hockey. They sit back. They don't do anything. And that all falls on the coaching. They're not generating on offense unless it's on the power play. They can only defend when it's 5-on-5. When they get on the PK, they're always getting scored on. Their PK is second to last, I believe, still in the NHL to date. Maybe even the last right now. Their power play still looks good. But holy hell. Something's got to change here, folks. It's not Steve Yzerman either. You can't move on from someone Steve Yzerman. He's got too long of a leash. While, yes, some of the signings from free agency have been bad, but he's done a really good job with the young guys and with drafting as well. Derek Lalonde does have an excuse saying, well, I didn't put this team together. No, but you do mix up the lines. You have that opportunity to do that and create something better than what you're currently putting out on the ice. Maybe the team, the players, they're not resonating with you anymore. But you as a coach needs to find a way on how to turn that around. Not just for the players, not just for the fans, but for the business. And I tell people on a regular basis, I will not go to a Red Wings game this year until they prove to me that they actually give a damn. Because every time I watch them, it doesn't look like that they do. It's frustrating, and I'm sure it's just as frustrating for the players too, especially when you got your head coach saying, hang in there. Just get through it. Just get through Monday, and when we get back home. Carlo was here. Oh, you guys are lucky, unlucky to get me today, but Yeah, it's just absolutely wild. Let me know what you think about the whole Derek Lalonde situation. I know I'm not the only person to talk about this. Everyone's talking about it online. I know other podcasts are talking about it as well, but I want to hear from you guys what you believe. I'm going to go through some other notes real quick that I have, just some Red Wings updates that the Detroit Red Wings did put Jack Campbell on waivers Sunday, and that he actually was sent down to Grand Rapids. He was in the player assistance program. So glad to see that he is back and doing better. Whatever struggle he was going through, whatever the situation was, glad to see that he was able to finally make a return. But now the Grand Rapids Griffins have 4 goalies, it sounds like, based on what Hockey Town West podcast told me. So that's a huge problem to have, I guess, on the good and the bad side, whichever way you want to look at it. It's not going to disrupt Kosa in any particular way, which is super awesome, right? And he's absolutely killing it. So keep doing what you're doing. And Jack Campbell, do what you need to do to find your groove. Don't rush into things. We love you, buddy. The Red Wings also recalled defenseman William Lagesson today from the AHL Grand Rapids Griffins. I'm assuming this was just precautionary protocol, right? They may not have known if Edmondson was going to play, so they just had to do it on a just in case basis. Wouldn't assume that he was going to get any playing time, but Carlo did go on Twitter and shed some light that he actually was looking pretty good with the Grand Rapids Griffins with his stint down there. So good looks on him. And then I do have some Red Wing or some around the league news. Let's see here. Yeah, the NHL has hired Ken Holland as a hockey operations consultant. We all knew that he was going to do something with hockey still, right? Whether if that was, well, we probably didn't assume that he was going to stick around with being general manager, right? But I kind of thought maybe he would be interested in coming back to the Red Wings organization in some type of role. But glad to see he actually still is in hockey. We, like I said, we kind of knew that he was going to, but with the actual NHL, I think that's pretty funny. But congratulations to him. And a little fun kicker here for those at home. Roberto Luongo, if you don't know who that is, go ahead and just look up some of his tapes on YouTube. Phenomenal goaltender in his time. But Roberto Luongo says before he signed with Vancouver after the trade, he didn't have a second contract yet. But he says the funny part is that he got offer sheeted by the Detroit Red Wings. He didn't accept the offer sheet, though. It was a pretty quick no. He had just got to Vancouver and didn't want to move to a new team again. Could you imagine a prime Roberto Luongo back in those days? It was right before, I think it was 06, 07 that he was traded. It might have been the year before. And the Red Wings win the cup 07, 08. They go back again 08, 09, lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They would have won that Stanley Cup again. They probably could have won it at least another time after that. They would have won another Stanley Cup. At least one. Without a doubt in my mind, they would have at least won one. Sucks to suck for him, though, because he didn't win a single Stanley Cup. I don't think he ever went to a Stanley Cup final. Maybe he did once, but he didn't win anything. That's life for you, though, baby. That's life for you. PWHL coming to Detroit March 16th, and it's Minnesota versus New York. Well, we talked about how the PWHL has had great success during that stint that they came to Detroit last year. I didn't get the opportunity to go, but I'll definitely make the chance of going to this one this year, and that there is word that the PWHL is looking to do some expansion teams in the near future. I would love for the Detroit I was going to say the Detroit Red Wings, but I would love to see Detroit in general get a PWHL team. I would get season tickets if they're fairly priced, but I would go to a lot of their games. More hockey, I'm in it. Let me know down below in the comment section, wherever you're watching, listening, however you're viewing us today, what names you would give to a Detroit PWHL team. What is the team name that you would give them? The Vipers is always the first one that comes to my mind because of obvious reasons, the Detroit Vipers back in the day, but I don't know if they'd be able to do that. Maybe like the Detroit Cobras. pay homage of some sort. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I think that would be pretty cool overall. But yeah, that's it for this episode, y'all. Just me once again today, Zach, your friendly podcast host over here. Beautiful podcast host, I should say. Carlo should be back for the next one. Unfortunately, we are slimming down now that Derek and Matt have moved on. We are making changes on this podcast. We're going to start bringing these episodes a little bit lighter, but more brighter for you guys. I know it's looking doom and gloomy for you Red Wings fans out there. It is for us too, right? But you always have to try and stay positive. We're looking at Albert Johansson. Yeah, I'll say him. He's starting to look good. He looks good on a regular basis. Obviously, there are some points in time where he doesn't, but that's expected. He plays 15 minutes a night when he does get to play, and he's still young. He's learning the ropes. Jonathan Berggren, 2 goals over the weekend against the Ducks and then the Pittsburgh Penguins. Marco Kasper getting his first NHL goal. Production isn't there, but you can tell that he's getting more and more comfortable out there. He's getting more shots out there too. Simon Edvinsson, workhorse. Without him, just imagine once again what this team would be like without Simon Edvinsson long term. Even someone like Moritz Seider. This team desperately needs a top 4 defenseman, whether if it's now, which doesn't seem to be likely, but anything's possible, or going into the offseason. That is something that you need to put on your radar. And a left wing forward. They need a top left wing forward. So if you are going to get a new coach, you better give them a really good offseason, because you got some big names out there for free agency that you can go and target. So yeah, let me know once again down in the comments what you guys thought about this episode. Super short one for you guys, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and take a moment and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Spotify and Apple, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, rate us 5 stars. And with that, I'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.